Well, hey, keep introducing yourself in the chat if you'd like, but we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome, everybody. This is SCORE Southwest Missouri's Tuesdays at 2 webinar series. We do this pretty much every second and fourth Tuesday of the month. You can find out about our future webinars at swmissouri.score.org, and I'll talk about a couple coming up in just a moment. But this is Becoming Your Brand Ambassador through social media. We've got Joe Everest, the fence expert from Ozark Fence, with us today, and I'll introduce Joe in just a moment. Before I do that, I want to tell you just a little bit about SCORE. My name is Katie Pattison, by the way. I'm the workshop chair for SCORE Southwest Missouri, and I also manage the Schweitzer Brentwood branch of the Springfield Greene County Library and coordinate business resources for the library. And the library is a sponsor of this program. So I know not everybody is from the Springfield area, but I bet that your local library has some business resources as well. Some of the things we offer here in Springfield are market and consumer research databases such as Reference Solutions. You may have heard that called Reference USA. We have a very cool demographics database that we just got just a couple weeks ago. So if you're looking for demographic information to help you make business decisions, this is the thing to use. This is the stuff all the big companies use. It's the same data, the same program. You can access it for free with your library card. It's called Demographics Now. And of course, we have meeting and co-working spaces in many of our branches. We've got a maker space with a vinyl cutter, laser engraver, heat press, and more. And probably what you know the library already does. Of course, we've got books, audiobooks, newspapers, and magazines in both print and digital format. And we work really frequently with SCORE Southwest Missouri to do workshops and events for businesses and entrepreneurs. So you can check out all that stuff at thelibrary.org/business. So let's talk a little bit about SCORE. SCORE is a nationwide nonprofit that is there for you for the life of your business. We offer mentoring and resources to support you from idea to exit. There are 3 things I like to tell people to remember that SCORE does for you. We provide free business mentoring and advice, so you can request a SCORE mentor for free in your local area, or if your local chapter does not have the particular expertise. If you have maybe a very specific area you need help with, you have access to the nationwide network of SCORE mentors, and that is a free service. We also offer low or no cost business training, just like the one you are in right now, and free business templates and resources. If you haven't checked out the SCORE website, if you have something you're working on for your business, a business plan, a marketing plan, anything you can think of, there's going to be some great resources there on the SCORE website at score.org. These are some workshops we have coming up here in Southwest Missouri. Our next workshop is Common Legal Issues Small Businesses Face. That is with Stephanie Cumley. She's the owner of Virtual HR Partner Services. That will be here at the Schweitzer Brentwood Library, where I'm sitting right now, in Springfield, or you can attend that one virtually as well. We do those as hybrid programs. And then our next Tuesdays at 2 is 4 personal perspectives for entrepreneurs. Doing a little thinking about your entrepreneurship journey. This will be a good one for you. That's with Dina Loader-Hurley from the Flanagan Group on the 26th at 2 p.m. You can register for any of those on the SCORE website, our chapter website, which is swmissouri.score.org. And everything that SCORE does is possible through the effort of our volunteers nationwide. SCORE has over 10,000 volunteers serving clients in over 1,500 communities. If you think you might be interested in being a SCORE volunteer, I would love to chat with you about that. You can just send me a direct message in the chat if you'd like, or you can reach out to me at my email address, which is Katie, Katyp, @thelibrary.org. Here is that contact info one more time, score.org/volunteer, if you want to just go ahead and sign right up to volunteer, or you can visit our chapter website here at swmissouri.score.org. Okay, it's time to introduce our presenter. So welcome, Joe. We have with us today Joe Everest. Joe's a 3rd-generation fencing professional who has more than tripled revenue by utilizing social media. His secret is utilizing recorded and live video to meet potential clients whenever and wherever they are. So we're excited to hear a little bit of Joe's expertise today. Thank you for being here.
Oh, you're very welcome. I'm excited to be here. And let me say, Katie, I was surprised at all of what the library offers. I guess it's my own fault for not knowing what all is out there. I assume books.
That's right. All right. Well, we're going to have coffee and I will tell you more.
I love it. I love the co-working space idea and all the working space. Absolutely. Well, I appreciate the opportunity to come and speak. I feel like as a presenter and as a leader, I get better by sharing with you guys and by really interacting with you guys, both in the chat and in person when possible. About this given subject, which I feel like is incredibly important. And that is becoming a brand ambassador through using social media, specifically live social media. It's where I kind of cut my teeth on social media, and it's something I enjoy doing a lot of. Now, a little bit about me. So third generation fencing professional. We used to say fence person, but now our industry is forming up and we are professionals now. So I feel like we've always been, but now I'm supposed to introduce myself as a fencing professional. So I am. No, we've been in Southwest Missouri. Ozark Fence has since 1955. It was my grandfather and his brother-in-law that started the company. My father bought it for my grandfather. I bought it for my father in 2016. And since then, we've a little bit more than tripled revenue, and largely in part because of my commitment to growing our social media presence. We started with Facebook, and we're still active on Facebook, but we also have grown it to a YouTube channel. I now talk to people about fencing related subject matter on the channel Joe Everest, the Fence Expert. And we're playing with different platforms. I'm going to have to revamp this talk a little bit because TikTok is becoming incredibly viable. There are more than a few businesses I follow that their marketing is simply TikTok. That's all they do is make really interesting TikTok. So anyway, I'm also part of a national training group. We go around the United States giving free training seminars to home service professionals because I feel like those are kind of my people. It's typically fencing professionals or fence staining and cleaning, power washing, that sort of thing. And so what I'm going to talk to you guys about today is something I talk to everyone about because I'm incredibly passionate about it. And that is becoming your own brand ambassador. So one thing I'd like to add to this is I'm totally open to you guys leaving comments in the chat. I'll try to address them throughout. It's not going to really, bring this thing off the rail, derail the talk or anything like that. So be sure to leave questions and comments in the chat. I'll kind of check in on it from time to time. I'd like this to be as interactive as possible so that this talk is customized or specialized to what you guys are most interested in hearing about. So why is becoming a brand ambassador important? I feel like it's because, and we hear this a lot, that consumers want to do business with people, with someone that they can form a personal relationship with rather than a brand. And the example I like to use on this or for this is in the early to mid 90s, Nike was having a problem. And that problem is they were losing market share to Reebok, Adidas, to name a few. And they did some brand research or they did some consumer research and they realized that people were having a problem identifying with the brand, with Nike itself. So they went on the hunt for a brand ambassador. Who could they find that people would form a relationship with, that people could relate to in some regard? Michael Jordan. They went out and found Michael Jordan. Now, this was such a profitable relationship for Nike that they paid Michael Jordan, according to a 2020 article in Forbes, over $2 billion with a B. Now that's in brand ambassador deals and also sponsorship agreements, that sort of thing, but over $2 billion. And this really strikes home for me because a company like that realizes the benefits of having a brand ambassador. Now at Ozark Fence, we don't have deep enough pockets to afford a Michael Jordan. Our marketing budget isn't quite that large. So I kind of reevaluated what we were doing. Now you've got to think, so in 2015 and before, our main marketing effort was the Yellow Pages. We did a tremendous business in Yellow Pages. We had a really nice ad and it was prominently displayed and it was just the right size to generate phone calls. But one thing we realized is the Yellow Pages, the calls that came in from the Yellow Pages were dwindling and people's attention was going online. Now, keep in mind, this is before the massive switch to that attention has made to online. So at the time, the main attention was spent still somewhat in print, television, of course, some in radio. but it was starting to trickle onto social media. And so, to my dad's benefit, he gave me a meager budget to work around with social media. And we found pretty quickly that on Facebook, we were really the only ones talking to our potential clients, whether it was through photographs or whether through blog posts, that sort of thing. I thought, as a consumer myself, I don't spend a lot of time reading articles. I don't spend a lot of time flipping through pictures. It's just not how I consume content. I really like to watch video because I feel like it gives me a better insight as to the subject matter that whomever it is talking about. That's why television has done so well at consuming this attention, is because it's people telling stories, right? So what could I do with Ozark Fence to help tell a story? Now, I also read a book by a gentleman named Marcus Sheridan titled "They Ask You Answer," and he was in the pool industry prior to the housing collapse. And you can imagine what his business did when the housing market collapsed. No one was really in the market for $100,000 plus pool, so he got creative and he started doing video marketing. And his particular segue into video was answering his clients' frequently asked questions. So that's what we did. We started pre-recorded content. It was a video camera in my living room. Now I got a backdrop so that it looked, fairly professional. I asked my wife to take the kids to the playground, and I would start recording frequently asked questions, which is typically, how much does it cost? Number one question, no matter what industry you're in, number one question, what does it cost? So we talked about, now we can't really talk about what a fence costs because it depends on several things. And that's the answer, right? If you ask me how much does a fence cost, I would reply, well, it depends, but it depends on these top 5 things. That was the video. That was the first video we did. And then from there, we simply answered our clients' questions. But eventually we got towards the end of the questions. Now we'll still produce content like this from time to time, but the questions are typically all under this same umbrella. How much is it? Do you service my area? Do you perform this specific service within your industry? That sort of thing. So I had to get a little bit more creative with how we were producing content. And right around this time, Facebook rolled out a feature called Facebook Live, where they would let you take your smartphone and go live from anywhere and talk about anything. So I started doing Ask a Fence Guy Fridays, where I would literally sit and speak in front of my phone. It would go something like, hey guys, Joe Everest, Ozark Fence, here to talk to you, here to answer your questions for Ask a Fence Guy Friday. And I would usually have some pre-prepared questions, but then really just ask our clients what they're wanting to know, and we could be talking about, the lumber prices, or we could talk about steel prices, or we could talk about what our schedule looks like, that sort of thing. Eventually that kind of ran out too. So in addition to Ask a Fence Guy Fridays, I would start doing lives on site. I picked this up from another fencing professional who would do his final project walkthroughs live. It was something he was already doing. He would, after his crews finished building the fence, he would go on site with or without the client. He would videotape the final walkthrough just so he would have some documentation of exactly the condition that they left the property in, that everything was done, the gate was working correctly, that sort of thing. He just started doing them live. Said, hey guys, this is, John Bowdy with Stony Creek Fence, and I'm here to do a walk around on this type of project in this neighborhood using some SEO terms. But he would just start doing lives there. So that's what we started doing, is we started doing live project walks or interesting things that we were doing in the community. So we sponsor the giraffe exhibit at the zoo. So we would do a live when we were unveiling the signage for the giraffe exhibit, that sort of thing. We would also do some product videos from time to time. Now, I think it's important to note that consumer behavior has changed since 2016. What we're seeing now and what we've been seeing in the last several years is a trend towards consumers wanting to buy rather than being sold. Here's the difference, is consumers want to do their own research. I mean, we're living in an age of the internet to where you can find as much information on a given subject as you could possibly desire. Customers want to do their own research, come to their own conclusions, and then have you perform that task for them based on these findings. So rather than a sales pitch, rather than saying, this is why you should buy this thing from me, what we started doing is we started saying, this is why a consumer would want to pick this product installed at their house. And for one particular video that we still show often, We were talking about a steel post that was purpose built for a wood fence. It was called a postmaster post. And so we'd say, as a consumer in Southwest Missouri, if you're wanting your fence built, you want it to be built to last, especially with the material pricing being what it is today. So to ensure that, we've actually found a purpose-built steel post to make sure your fence doesn't blow over, because fence failure is the #1 cost for fence replacement. And we went on and on and on about this, giving the benefits to the customer. And then the end result was, so if you're having a fence built, I suggest you reach out to your fencing professional of choice and ask them for this particular post by name. Now, it just so happened we were one of a few fencing contractors in the area that carried that post at the time. Now, because that video did so well, most every fencing professional in the area carries them, but we still get calls about that video because I was the one that did it. And I shared that information freely, and the customer didn't feel like I was asking for business in return. I simply said, given this information, regardless of whom you do business with, it would be smart for you to ask for this particular product, with the implied suggestion that we offer this product, right? So, and like I said, we still run that video. We still get good feedback from the video, but we started picking up on the fact that consumers want to learn and make the purchasing decision themselves rather than sit and be sold a product. So we would start sprinkling in these videos. That post video, we would spend a little bit of time talking about the benefits of cedar versus pine. Again, no matter who you do business with, I think it's a good idea that you choose a cedar product rather than a treated pine, mainly from a longevity standpoint. And here's a few supporting reasons why that you, the customer, could go find on your own. I'm simply bringing this content to you. I'm trying to make it easier for you to make a purchasing decision, no matter who you're making that decision from. All this solidified in my mind when I was visiting a lady about a fencing proposal at her house. I knocked on the door and she opened the door and she said, "Well, now wait a minute. You're that guy from Facebook that's talking to me about fence." I said, "Well, yeah. I mean, here's the thing is I'm too tight to hire like an actor or somebody to talk like that for Ozark Fence. And if I did, they wouldn't look like me." We had a good laugh about it. We went around to the backyard, and while I was measuring, I said, "Well, Miss Client, here's something a little bit different than us. So we only offer these steel posts rather than wood. And I think that's important because," and right around then she stopped me and she said, "That's the video that I met you at. You were talking about these steel posts, about how," and she started repeating back to me the benefits of the post. They have a warranty, they're coated so they're not going to rust, and on and on. And it clicked for me. On her schedule, at the location that she chose, whether it's her living room or wherever, she had found me at my company telling her about this product. And she felt so comfortable that then she reached out and she knew that was the thing she wanted. Couldn't find out we were her only phone call. And really my job was to make sure that our project came in within her budget. So it solidified for me there, was that this is a powerful tool that we need to continue doing. And really, when you fast forward to today, we do some marketing elsewhere. We do a little bit of television, a little bit of radio, predominantly it's social media, because there's a few reasons. One, we're a little bit more in control of it, right? We choose the content that we produce, when it's produced, who it's shown to. Social media gives you a tremendous amount of tools to choose it when you're spending marketing dollars and ad dollars, where those dollars are spent. But also it lets us meet folks where they want to be met, right? They don't necessarily have to be seated in front of a television or in a vehicle listening to the radio or wherever they may listen to radio. 9 times out of 10, they have a device on their person that they're consuming social media content on. So why not meet them there when they're ready to consume, and maybe they're ready to make a purchasing decision, but maybe they're not. We meet them today, maybe 2 years from when they need whatever service we're giving them. But over those 24 months, we're introducing ourselves. We're telling them about who we are and who our company is, what we stand for, what we think is important, the products we offer, the services we offer, that sort of thing, so that in 24 months, there's not even a question in their mind who they're going to call for whatever this service is that they need. We're introducing ourselves and we're starting this buying behavior, this introduction well before well before they become a client. Now, there's some feedback I get. So like I said, I give this talk and I talk to other contractors in other parts of the United States for the last several years. One of the main reasons, the hesitation points, is that contractors are busy in general. The home service sector, now it's slowing down a little bit more than it has been in the last couple of years, but everyone's busy. So their question is, why, if I'm so busy and I don't actually have no more capacity to take on work based on whatever factors are out there, why now? Why invest time and money into developing this when I can't even take on any additional work that it may present? The answer was, the best time to dig a well is not when you're thirsty. The best time to go shopping is not when you're hungry. You do it beforehand, right? Before the need is there, you provide for the future need. And it's the same concept here, is that when you start producing social media content, when you start doing live videos or TikToks or whatever you're given, mode of media, the phone doesn't ring tomorrow. Now it may, but typically the phone doesn't ring tomorrow because you've just introduced yourself to your future client. There's going to be a little bit of courtship involved where they become even more comfortable with you and they start learning whether or not they need your product or service at that given time. They're really filing it away for later so that you become top of mind when they do need it. So the time to start producing this content is now, if you think you may need more business 6 to 12 to 24 months from now, which what we're seeing in our business is maybe that's more of a reality now than it was 24 months ago. So it's important. I'll pause here because the next step is to talk about how. Right. And it's pretty straightforward, but we'll talk about how in a minute. I want to get through the chat, maybe answer some of your guys' questions to see if maybe we're on the right track here, or would you rather me go down a different path? Let me know in the chat. I'm going to try to get back up towards the top and answer a few of your questions. If they're there, say hello to a few people. Hello to a few people. Martha, hello. Instructor of Dr. Du's course. Let's see. Charles said, just confirm we are not on camera, correct? I am not camera ready. No, I cannot see you if you're watching. I'm literally in a room talking to a camera for all I know. Cannot see you. And then Katie linked the book. I think it's an incredible resource. They ask, you answer. If you guys do have questions, drop them in the comments below. Like I said, I don't mind this being an interactive conversation rather than me presenting information, but I also don't mind presenting the information. And I leave time usually at the end for some question and answer. So live video is important. It's incredible. And it's so important that the platforms are telling us that it's important. So the Facebook advisory group had, I say recently, now it's probably been more than a year ago, had put out a hierarchy of content, kind of how their algorithm chooses to show what content to whom. The top of that is live video, because they realize that people would rather consume live video than pre-recorded. Live video, pre-recorded video, photographs, and then written word. Think blog post, but on Facebook. And when you're consuming social media, when you're scrolling through your feed, you see this in action. So you see more live videos than, well, it probably depends on which algorithm you're in, I suppose. But mine is more live videos than recorded videos. Few nice pictures sprinkled in there, but not as many. And rarely ever do I see written posts when we're talking about business content that we're seeing in the feed. Now, I'll see friend updates and that sort of thing. But even within updates, if you'll notice your friend updates, you see fewer friend updates that are simply text. But if they put a video or a colored background on the content, you start to see more of it. So the platforms are telling us, if you produce live video content, we will show it to more people, because the platforms are in the business of holding attention. That's what they care the most about, is keeping people on platform for as long as possible. They track this. They track the time on platform per person down to the second. They know how much time you spend. And so they know what content you would consume to spend more time on the platform. And then they serve you that content, trying to keep you there longer, which is a bit scary. They track this to such a degree. They know They know what category of live videos keep you longest as well. The point is, if you want more people to see your content, you need to give the platform the content that they're asking for. Now, they will obviously accept whichever content you would like to put. If you'd like to make a post update on your business page, they'll let you simply with written word, and they'll show it to a few people, somewhere like 5% of your subscribers, at least in our business, that feels kind of right. But if we add a picture to it, an interesting, intriguing picture, we can see that engagement go up. If we do a pre-recorded video for sharing out a video, maybe from one of our other platforms, a bit more engagement. But we do live engage, or we do live video, we see the most engagement of any of those content types. So we give the platform what it asks for, and we give it live video. So how do you do live video? So we start, like I said, we started with pre-recorded, but when we started with live video, we simply started with a smartphone. And more often than not, typically everyone will have a smartphone on their person at most any given time. You might be watching this on a smart device, who knows? But these have optical, the optical gear on these cameras is far superior to anything that I started with, or anything that was available even a couple years ago. You can shoot in 4K. Now, a lot of the platforms, a lot of them won't show 4K in live video, but some of the, anyway, you have a smartphone on your person that you can plug into your, depending on which platform, if you're on Facebook or Meta now, your business page, and you can go live directly from that. And as far as I know, they don't have the same criteria that other platforms might. For example, YouTube, the live criteria there is something like 1,000 subscribers. They have a minute. There's some criteria involved with before you can go live on YouTube, and I stutter on this because it changes somewhat frequently. Same thing with TikTok. You have to have X amount of subscribers, X amount of content consumed before they'll give you live access. As far as I know, Facebook still gives you live access on business pages pretty much without any sort of hurdles. You connect it to your smart device, and it's literally as easy as pressing live, creating an interesting title, or not. Maybe it's just a descriptive title, and then going live. It'll give you a 3, a 2, a 1. You'll give you a brief countdown, and then you're live. And it's literally, hey guys, here's who I am. Here's who I'm with. Here's what I want to talk to you about today. Be sure to let me know you're here by letting me know who you are and where you're from. Usually some good engagement type content to put in there. But then just going live. And the question typically comes up is, how long do I need to go live? And there's not a great answer for that. So the typical answer is as long as you need to make your point, but not a minute more. So not a lot of fluff, not a lot of fill, because people hear that, they pick up on that, and then they'll tune out. But if your point takes a minute to make, then your video is a minute long. If your point takes 15 minutes to make, then your content is 15 minutes long. Now, with my YouTube channel, I interact with typically other fencing professionals on a weekly basis every Saturday, and we do 2.5 hours worth of live. It's from 10 to 12:30 Central, and we'll just talk about business, and we'll talk about business marketing, which is something that I enjoy personally, business operations, that sort of thing. And it takes 2.5 hours every week to have that conversation. Sometimes it's longer. If I have a guest on and we get to rambling, it may be 3 or 3.5 hours, or sometimes there's not content available and it might be 2 hours or 2 hours and 15 minutes long. So it varies is the answer. When I was doing the Ask a Fence Guy Friday, I would typically try to cut out at least half an hour out of my day to do this content. It was usually in the middle of the day when people are typically eating lunch, because they're typically consuming content on their smart devices during lunch. So I'd go live for half an hour, say from 12 to 12:30 on Fridays Central. And we just talk about fence stuff. And to begin with, it was typically my friends and family. It was my mom. She would pop in every week, like, being a great mom. Hey, hon, you're doing well. It's good to see you, on and on. And then some friends would pop in, but slowly but surely we would get consumers popping in and asking fence related questions. Hey, how far out are you? If I needed a fence right now, how long until you guys could, be out here building a fence? Do you guys do this type of fence? Do you guys service this area in live real time? Now, that didn't happen on week 1, though. That typically happened, if I remember, it typically happened after a month or so. So after I consistently and repeatedly went live, happened. A few things happened. One, people learned that, hey, on Fridays around lunchtime, this guy talks about fence, but also the algorithm figured it out as well, that my channel went live every Friday from noon to 12:30 Central. So it knew to expect it, and it knew to kind of prep the audience for that. Now, and you can also schedule lives, which is something that we started to do to give your audience a little bit more head start on consuming your content. So typically that morning, we would schedule the live for 12 o'clock and go from there. But the hardware involved in it to get started is as easy as the hardware you have on your person. The platform doesn't charge anything to have a business profile and to go live. The cost of entry is absolutely minimal. I mean, like I said, if you have a smartphone, you have the technology. Now, you can of course build on this. I'm coming to you guys from a studio that has lighting and audio gear and a professional video setup, that sort of thing. So you can get a little bit more creative and a little bit more intensive with your investment, but the audio sounds a little bit better. And one thing we learned was that if a video has good audio, but the video may be questionable, the folks will still stick around. However, if it's great video, crispy, clear video, but the audio is a little bit off, audiences don't tend to stick around. They're audible. They want to hear the content. Now, if they don't see the content, then that's okay, but they absolutely want to hear the content. So the first upgrade was the audio equipment, and then the lighting and the video. And now we have professionals that help us with the video sort of thing. But when we got started, it was me, and it was once a week doing live content. And then we stopped doing recorded content. We would do a little bit, but we stopped the majority of our recorded content because we realized our live content got engagement that was significantly higher than the recorded engagement. So much so that, like I said, we still have some recorded video that we'll put out into the social media platforms occasionally, but it's mostly live content or replays of live content that then we repurpose into other content. So barrier of entry is pretty low. You have the equipment on your person right now to at least get started, and then you can build on it from there. The platform I enjoy using, or I started off enjoying using, is Facebook. We still do a lot of content on Facebook, but now I've transitioned to YouTube, and we're starting to play with TikTok to see, and we've found some really good success in TikTok. Like I said, there's some businesses who their entire marketing model is based on TikTok videos that do incredibly well. They convert really well. Here's my thought on that, is because social media is becoming more mainstream in that you start seeing larger and larger brands come into the whichever these platforms are. So Facebook is fairly full of large competitors who are willing to pay significant amount of money to have their content placed above other content. So we can still play on that platform. We still do okay, but the attention is more divided. On YouTube, you're starting to see that. You're starting to see large brands create channels and then drive more content to that channel to then try to siphon off some of that attention. But on a platform like TikTok, people don't give it the respect it deserves. It is gathering an immense amount of attention. TikTok is. And say what you want about it, it is a powerful platform. The algorithm is super good at figuring out exactly what you want to watch it before you want to watch it. So it always has that next video on deck, ready to go, ready for you to swipe. And it seems like it's pretty on. And you hear people talk about this, right? They'll say, I'm on the fence talk, or I'm the fence TikTok, or I'm on the dance talk about dance content, or I'm on the this talk or the that talk, because the algorithm is incredibly good at figuring out what content you like watching and finding more of it to serve you. But corporate marketing right now is still a little hesitant to jump on board. So that there's not those attention siphons in place yet to start taking that attention away. It feels more real. It feels more like a person interacting with a person rather than on a platform that's more established, such as a Facebook or Meta, where the corporate, marketing is in place now to start having more of a sales message. And people are not wanting to have that message. They're starting to leave that platform because they don't want to be sold. They want to make purchasing decisions for themselves. They want to buy for themselves. All that to say, pick a platform that feels best for you. Facebook is generally the easiest access, and for better or worse, they have more controls over what type of content people can comment on and how they can comment on that subject matter. So it's kind of like the bowling alley with bumper lanes, right? So even if you're talking about content that someone doesn't agree with, there's tighter controls on how that person can speak out against you on that particular content. Now, when you get into other platforms, for better or worse, those comment controls may not be as strict, right? So YouTube comments can get a little crazy sometimes. Now, you can still put restrictions in for keywords, for profanity, and that sort of thing. But then you get into a platform such as TikTok, and the comment filters there, they're not non-existent, but they're fairly limited. So you get some very brutally honest people in there leaving you comments. So if I were to give a suggestion, it would probably be start with Facebook. Really easy to get started, really low barrier of entry. It's more of a safer place to have conversations and to kind of cut your teeth on social media until you venture out onto other platforms. It worked for us. I think it can work for you. It works for a lot of other home service-based contractors that we deal with, that we help build their business and scale their business, simply because the price is right. You typically have the hardware on you, and the cost of time, the time resource involved typically isn't that high either, especially when we're talking about live video. One of the components that we hadn't talked about yet is on recorded video. Live video is an easier mode of video because you aren't stuck with editing either. So if this were a recorded video and maybe I had stuttered, or maybe I had mispronounced a word or what have you, I could easily stop, reset, and continue on, knowing that we could fix that in post edit. But in live, you don't typically have that option. Well, you don't have that option. It is live. So you don't have that time resource needed at the end of it to get that content out. And I can't tell you how much content got stuck on my computer hard drive because I didn't like the way I said a word, or the lighting wasn't quite right, or I simply didn't have the time to try to edit through all the mistakes to find the winning phrase or to find that really great piece of content. So the content simply didn't go out. Where what we're finding is in live video, people are okay with the ums and the ahs and maybe the mispronounced word or the misspoken word, because again, it makes the person that they're watching more relatable. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to relate with our future clients or potential friends of future clients. I mean, we're getting to the point now in social media where word of mouth has taken on a whole new method. It's taken on a whole new life. For example, obviously in the fencing trade, well, yesterday at some point, if you're local to Springfield, you probably saw this on the local Facebook group. Someone drove through a gate at an apartment complex, and my company was tagged and I was tagged, and we started getting phone calls because the person simply asked, who can fix this gate? And I don't want to wait 16 weeks to have it fixed, was one of the stipulations. Well, we started getting recommended, said, hey, Ozark Fence can do it, or reach out to Joe. And I started getting messages about this. I had never met the person. The person had never met me, but they asked their trusted group of individuals in these Facebook groups, and our cheerleaders came out in force and started tagging us and recommending this. The word of mouth has grown exponentially. And this happens on a fairly regular basis in these Facebook groups. People ask for recommendations of a certain good or service, and then people come in droves to either recommend or sometimes not recommend a particular contractor or provider. So word of mouth is huge. It always has been, but on social media, it's even more of an issue today. It's even a bigger issue today. And one way we can influence that is by being present. And we can meet these people who may not even be our clients, but who knows what groups they're in. When that question gets asked, who does this? A question that you'd really like to answer, that you do that particular thing. Maybe this person has seen some videos and they realize that this person can be trusted. I feel like I know them. I haven't met them, but I feel like I know them. And I feel like that they could provide this service very well, and you should reach out to them. The reasons for getting involved are plentiful. It's hugely impactful. The investment is about as minimal as you get. You probably have the hardware on you right now. There's not a really great reason not to start practicing, so that when your business does start needing more clients or would like to meet more people, that it already has the methodology in place to do that. It's something that we've learned over time. I think it could be impactful for you. I'll jump into the chat now. That's really kind of what I talk about, guys. And this is when I typically open it up for Q&A for you guys to ask whatever questions you want, maybe within reason, right? Like, let's not get crazy, but I'm a fairly open book as to social media in regards to home service-based businesses or small business in general. One thing I found, and the reason it works for me to go onto these trainings, I'm a fence guy, right? So what do I know about roofing? What do I know about plumbing or electrical or whatnot? What I know is how to talk to people. And at the end of the day, it's people making these decisions. So one thing I've learned is that a fence guy can teach a thing or two about talking and meeting people on social media. Not just fence guys, not just fence gals, but home service-based professionals in general. I'm always happy to help. So drop questions or comments in the comments below, and we'll try to answer them, as much of them as possible. I'm here. We've got some time left today. I'm more than happy to.
Yeah.
Let's see. Mitch says, great perspective so far, Joe. Thank you. Mitch, thank you. Appreciate you tuning in. Brittany says, can you talk about the equipment you use to do the live content? I hope I answered that, but maybe I didn't. It started off with simply a cell phone and a tripod. Braden, do we have a tripod just to show kind of what a basic setup would look like? So Braden's one of the professionals I have here that helps us produce content. So it could be as simple as this is a good one. This is Manfrotto. So this is the good stuff, but you can get other types of tripods. We also have like handheld tripods. The idea is some sort of stable device that where you can mount your phone into it. You could search the major online retailer and find something like this pretty easily. But literally, it's a tripod and your cell phone or a smartphone. Really, I mean, I suppose there are still some cell phones that aren't smartphones. I guess I'm making an assumption there, but a smart device and a tripod really is where it's at. And then from there, the sky's kind of the limits. You know, like it's the next thing I would upgrade would be your audio. So who does the audio devices, Braden, that we like? Those Goes. Rode Wireless, but you like a different one. Oh, gotta say that a little bit slower. Tascam DR 10L. That's the one Braden likes, and Braden's a pro. We used some other ones in the past. So what this is, it's a wireless mic. Right. And if your device has an audio input, you can use it. So smart device has an input to where you can enter an audio, you can input an audio source. You could literally use that device with this phone and get some really good audio. That would be your next upgrade. And then from there, lighting possibly, would you say, Braden? So probably audio. I mean, you got video and then lighting. So we've got like a nice little ring light right here. You could get a ring light again from the major online retailer fairly inexpensively, and then go from there. I mean, this is obviously not on a cell phone. We use some video gear now, and it's a bit more complicated around here than that. But you could get first thing, cell phone or smartphone rather, on a tripod, so it's holding still. It's a nice video. Then a wireless lavalier mic. And then maybe some lighting. And that would really be, and then from there, it would just be upgrading as you see fit on your equipment.
Yeah.
Hope that helps.
Joe, Martha was asking, what is the maker of the microphone you're using right now?
Oh, well, okay. This is a few steps above the wireless, but this is a Rode. It's it's a Shure SM7B. Shure SM7B, but it also, so it's not a powered mic, so it needs to go into is this a processor? Would that be accurate? A mixer, an audio mixer that then provides some power, but then also does some audio mixing to make it sound a little bit nicer. But the brand Shure makes some really nice mics. I've got this one on like a tripod, but we also have them like it could fly in on one of these things. sure make some good audio gear. So like when you see I say audio professionals, singers, I think is the word I was looking for. But they're typically using Shure type audio gear. It's really nice, but it is an investment.
So, and she also asked, can you spell out the name of that wireless mic you mentioned?
Wireless mic.
Maybe we could probably send it out in our
I'm gonna type it in the chat. How about that?
That'll work.
Oh, it's not. Okay. All right. Rode Wireless Go. That's the one I've always liked. So Rode Wireless Go. And actually now it's like the Go 2, right? Yeah, the Go 2. So I'm going to drop that in the chat. The Rode RODE Wireless Go 2. So now you can have 2 speakers on 1 receiver. So it's a little bit nicer. Yeah, they're super straightforward. They're easy to charge. They're easy to adjust. That's why I like them, because I'm a fence guy and I'm not like a tech guy, and I can still get it to work.
Nice. I think we had a question from Anne about how you touched on this a bit, but how often do you post video now?
Oh yeah, so great question. I'm glad you said that. I saw it and then I thought about it and then promptly filed it away. Yeah. So how often? It's going to be. This is an answer without an answer. Regularly. Okay. So weekly is great. So, and because people remember weekly. So if you think about your calendar, your schedule in your mind, it's a 7-day calendar. You don't typically think in terms of months. You typically think in terms of weeks. At least that's the way my mind works. So if someone tells me I'm going to be live Saturdays at noon, okay, well, when it's Saturday, I'm going to say, well, remember, they told me that they're going to go live at noon on Saturday. Monthly works, but it's hard for people to remember the second Thursday of the month, right? Because that's just not the way the calendar's mind works. Weekly is good. That being, and this, I guess the answer is also going to vary depending on platform. TikTok, they want you to post like several times a day on there. Now, I don't, because I do other things besides, make videos. But the people that have success, like massive success on TikTok, typically have someone that can do these video uploads 3, 4, 5 times a day. Don't start there. Start with weekly content though. It's easier for people to remember. Like I said, I did, and it's easy to come up with the title that way too. Ask a Fence Guy Friday tells you everything you need to know. Well, other than the time, but if it's a Friday, Joe's probably going to be talking about fence at some point in the day. Weekly is kind of what feels right. Now on YouTube, we post content several times a week just because we have more content than a weekly upload would allow. I think we've got a live and 2 regular uploads a week right now. And poor Braden, we're trying to find ways to do more content, and we need to clone Braden. So if anyone knows how to clone somebody, you let me know. But really, you're going to get down to a time limitation on how much content you can put out. Weekly, for me, weekly was about right. I could devote half an hour a week to building myself as a brand ambassador on a social media platform. So that's why I invested.
So I have a couple of follow-up questions to that I sort of jotted down while you were talking. So when you first started this, like before we let everybody in here, we were talking about how busy your business is right now. Yeah. And you're still finding time to do this. And I imagine when you first started it, you were probably also busy, but you carved out the time. So how did you kind of carve out the time? How did you make it a priority?
So it was just a non-negotiable item on my calendar. I mean, we've all got those, right? So if you've got to get in to see the dentist, if you've got a toothache and you've got to get in the dentist, and the dentist says, hey, I have Thursday at 10 available, you put it in your calendar and it's non-negotiable. You have someone that pops in and says, hey, love to go to lunch. Could you do 11 o'clock? You'd say, no, I've got this dentist at 10 and I don't know how long it's going to take. There's some non-negotiables in your calendar right now. You just need to make this a non-negotiable, but you need to make it doable. And because I could put a non-negotiable thing in my calendar for like 2 hours, but then it does kind of become negotiable. Mm-hmm. Like, well, I know I wanted to spend 2 hours, but 2 hours really just isn't feasible in my day right now. For me, a half hour was doable. And I did it during my lunch hour, right? So I would typically eat really quickly, and then I would spend half an hour doing the live, and found success with it. Now, lately, because our business has been, we're just past our capacity right now. We're not doing them as often because we kind of built that foundation along the way. We're still putting out content. We have pre-recorded content that goes out, both video and photo and that sort of thing. But honestly, the conversation right now going on in the company is, do we start ramping up now, seeing that our call volume is decreasing? So does that mean business will decrease? Well, let's step on the gas pedal a little bit more now, because we have this built-in base that we spent a lot of time developing. We can now kind of control that gas pedal, brake pedal sort of thing, because we have that base built, if that makes sense. So that's the conversation we're having now is it me? Probably not. It's probably my sister, Sarah, though. So we're working on introducing her to our Facebook audience, because she is our residential rock star. She's our client experience officer. Whereas now I'm doing more marketing, where I'm talking to folks like this, or I'm doing marketing within the business, or I'm traveling doing the training. She is the face of Ozark Fence to our consumers. So now we're working on getting her introduced to the audience a little bit. And she has absolutely all the concerns that everyone watching right now has. Well, do I look right? Or what if I stutter? Or what if I pronounce that great example, pronounce a word wrong? So anyway, we're working on that, but you make it non-negotiable. And you start with the time that can be non-negotiable.
Yeah.
I hope that's an answer.
It is, absolutely. Do you spend, or at least in the beginning, did you spend any time preparing for those live shots, or did you just rely on your knowledge and think, I'm just going to answer based on my knowledge and it'll be fine? Or was there extra time for preparation?
Oh, there was. So I started with recorded video. So I kind of had a little bit of time to prepare, but even before I'd go live, I started with the live video. I kind of role played with my dad a little bit, where I said, hey, here's a question. Here's what I'm going to say. Could you come up with a few extra questions? And then I'd kind of role play with him back and forth. And like I said, I'll be honest, I kind of stacked the deck a little bit on the lives, because I'd tell my mom, hey, I'm getting ready to go live. And she would pop in and kind of help the conversation along. And then I would have friends, because I would share it out with my personal page as well. So I'd have some friends pop in. If you have supportive people around you, they'll help you through it. Right? They'll start asking questions, or just hey, you look great, or, what are you doing tomorrow? What do you got planned for the weekend? That sort of thing. They'll kind of help you along a little bit. But to answer your question, I did. I role played it with my dad, or, just because he was really who was around. At the time we had about 1,000 square foot office, and it was all one room, and it was me and my dad and my granddad. And you can imagine my granddad had no use for social media. He didn't want any part of it, but yeah, I would role play with my dad just on the questions and what I was going to say and that sort of thing.
Nice. Keep putting those questions in the chat if you got them. Brittany did have one there. She's talking about brick and mortar versus home-based business. I guess we could, to talk about your knowledge. Is this a benefit for a home-based business in addition to
Absolutely. So we have a brick and mortar. We have a fence store, really, but we also sell e-commerce. We also sell fence fittings around the country via the large online retailer or our own website. So we're producing similar type content to go out onto those platforms as well, without a brick and mortar, right? So e-commerce, you're really reliant on people meeting you and getting to know you and trusting you, because they don't know who to trust. Right, especially in the home base or in the e-commerce, they don't know who to trust and who to go to. So it might be more important, honestly, than if you don't have a brick and mortar store, to establish yourself as that brand authority. That's one thing I didn't touch on, but I think it's important, is the first person there gets the brand authority, right? Is one of the reasons we found success, and it's still true today, none of our competitors do it. They do not do live video, without exception. I can't think of one that does. And so when we do go live, we're the only one having a conversation with this group of people, right? That may become our clients, or may know someone who would become a client of ours later on. So is it important for home-based business? Absolutely. because you don't have anywhere where your clients can come to meet you. So therefore, it might be even more important that you put yourself out there so they can meet you virtually.
Makes sense. Waiting on questions in the chat, but Joe, I just jotted down all kinds of questions.
And I'll say this, she said, probably not actually related to this topic. Totally fine, Brittany. Absolutely okay. Like I'm an open book. I'm here for it. And I'll tell you if I don't have an opinion on it, but Braden will tell you there's not much I don't have an opinion on.
So Joe, you touched on comments a bit. Do you have sort of a general policy about whether you address comments? Like, do you respond to people really frequently, or do you just sort of respond here and there? How does that work for you, and what's your philosophy on that?
Regularly, absolutely regularly. But I don't engage with verbal sparring. You know what I mean? Like, and that's just a decision that I made personally. I'm not here to argue with anyone. I'm not here to prove to you that I'm right, because I might not be. This is simply, when I'm presenting it as my opinion. Based on my experience, this is my opinion of whatever the topic is. I'm not telling you that this is the only answer or the only way to do it, there are other ways to build fence. I fully recognize that. But I'm not here to have an argument with anyone about it, because your experience may be different than mine. So that's kind of the line I drew in the sand. The hateful stuff, we just ban it. I'm not here to have those conversations. Yeah, there are people who find joy in just posting hateful stuff in comments, and we just ban them and move on. But if someone has a legitimate question, absolutely, I engage regularly. I try to get in. So on YouTube, they have a nice creator app. I'll go in and view through the comments several times a day, trying to stay on top of them. Because as your channel grows, the comments get a little bit out of control as well. It's free engagement, answering a question. You know, I mean, you get one more comment on that video. I mean, granted, it's you, but it's, like I said, free engagement. So if someone has a legitimate question or an alternate point of view, I'll engage with that conversation. If someone says, here's how I do it, and here's why I think this is better, I'm here for it. I might get better. I might learn a new tip or trick. I have through the YouTube comment section. We've learned things that we can implement in our business from people sharing their perspective. I'll absolutely engage with that all day long. But verbal sparring, I'm not here for it. Hateful speech, I'm not here for that at all. But those are kind of personal choices. Some people don't engage with comments at all because they don't feel comfortable having conversations like that either.
Sure. We've got a question. Have you ever considered doing product placement?
Yes. Yeah, we do product placement. Absolutely. So do we have anything we could talk about? So Nationwide? Yeah. So there's a fencing brand called Nationwide. Actually, they do other stuff besides fencing, but we know them from Fencing Hardware. So we'll talk about them. We have a brand deal with them on the YouTube channel. But we'll also, as part of that, talk about their fittings in our TikTok comments. So if I'm talking about in TikTok, I talk a lot about our e-commerce because we're building that up. But I'll say, hey, we're shipping out a ton of these Nationwide Industries Trident hinges because I personally enjoy using them. I would put them at my house, so I don't mind telling the audience that I would do that. Yeah, product placement, absolutely. I'm fine with it. As long as they're products that I believe in. And I think that's important. We have brands email us somewhat regularly from just random brands that want to place their thing in our videos. And it doesn't make sense for our content. You know, this isn't an example that has happened, but if like a shampoo manufacturer said, hey, I'd sure like to have a shampoo bottle in your next video, that does not make any, like, why that, my audience is not here for shampoo content. They're here for fencing content. But if it's a brand, and we've also, like I said, we've had some brands reach out. So we did a video on expanding foam. One of the brands that we showed in that did end up wanting to become a sponsor, but the product failed in the video, or it didn't meet my expectations in the video. So, but they said, well, we could offer you could be a distributor and you would get this preferred pricing and this and that. And ultimately the answer was no. Like, you saw the video, like it didn't go well. Why Why would I offer this product? Why would I alter my opinion? It was kind of, I think that's the way that conversation was headed. Like, absolutely not. I mean, my worst nightmare is someone would go purchase that thing, whatever it is, and use it and have a horrible experience and then realize that I did it for money, that I was purely paid to have that opinion. That scares me. So as far as product placement, if it's something that we believe in, for example, like I said, we use a ton of this nationwide industry stuff. I have no problem showing that in my videos, whether it's fittings or whatnot. As far as product placement, we're talking, we've got a few other brands that we're talking to within the fencing industry, talking about showing our experience with them. That's typically the product placements we do, is like sharing our experience. Does that make, I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go down these rabbit holes and I never know if I'm answering the question.
So we are at 3:00. We have a couple more questions. So I want to just let everybody know that we do record these sessions. We'll send them out to everyone in an email within a week or so. You have access to the recording if you have to hop off. Joe, do you want to take these last couple questions?
Yep,
or you have
the ones I'm looking at are pretty quick and easy.
Okay.
How many folks do you have working on your marketing in total for Ozark Fence? We have one full-time, one part-time, one virtual, and then myself. So that's kind of like a mixed bag of an answer, but one full-time, one part-time, one virtual, which is maybe you call that 2 part-time, and then myself just kind of like keeping an eye on it. And we've built that out as it made sense, right? It made sense to bring Braden on full-time because we were wanting to produce content that required full-time videography and editing. Some of the stuff is edited virtually offsite. A gentleman in Texas does a lot of the editing. And then our business admin, Jeremy, works part-time because that's really kind of the capacity we need him to work in. Let's see. Amanda says, thank you. This is informative. Amanda, thank you for joining us. Rochelle had to run with meeting a client. Totally fine. Understandable. Great luck with the client. Ann says, how big is your YouTube audience? 42,000 and change. 42,000 and change. It changes daily. So we're adding between 700 or 800 subscribers a month. So it's a moving target right now. TikTok handle is The Fence Expert. If you search The Fence Expert on pretty much any of the social media channels, you'll find me. That's the content I enjoy talking about.
Great.
But if you guys have any more questions, this is obviously recorded. I mean, I'd be happy to answer questions like in the comment section of where it ends up. You can also reach out to me. Is it okay to say that?
Yeah,
I don't know,
please. Yeah, share your contact info
here.
if you're comfortable, or your socials. I'm sure people would love to go check out what you're doing.
Okay, totally. So my email, joe at, this is all one word, thefenceexpert.show is my direct email. I'll say that my response time is not fantastic on the emails because I do give it out a lot. So there's a lot of emails that come in through there. But also any of the social medias, Facebook is The Real Joe Everest, because apparently there are several Joe Everest accounts on Facebook, and that is the real one. YouTube is The Fence Expert. If you just search The Fence Expert on YouTube or TikTok, you'll find me.
Great. Thank you so much. This was great information. We really appreciate you spending some time with us here at SCORE.
I was happy to help.
All right. Well, thank you, Joe. And watch for that email, everybody. You can just rewatch this as many times as you want. All right. Bye-bye.